In the final year of Oklahoma in the Big 12, it's apropos that the Sooners would play barn burners in the Big 12 because that's got to be where this term started, right? Keith Jackson, barn burner in the old Big 8, Oklahoma, Nebraska, those games. Yeah, this was another barn burner. OU on the plus side against Texas. Let's check it out against the Jayhawks. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, breaking down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Let's get to it. Please subscribe. That way you hit the bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Right out of the gate, it was obvious Kansas wanted to break this losing streak, wanted to show that they are a contender in the Big 12 Conference, and they went for it on a 4th and 3. Trace Ford batted down the pass, but with Jason being a quarterback, of course, no Jalen Daniels. Jason being a longtime starter for KU. Lance Leipold says, let's be aggressive. And that aggressiveness was on the other side of the football. Mello Dotson, pick 6 right out of the gate against Jalil Farouk and Dylan Gabriel. So Gabriel was late throwing to that side, and Dotson was sitting all over this route. Gabriel looked left, hesitated, then came back to the right side. Farouk should have came back to the football because he left his quarterback out to dry, and it was not a good pass, not a good decision. And again, it was late, and Dodson was just waiting for it. Pick 6 right out of the gate to get KU on the board at 7-0. That Oklahoma passing attack a bit non-existent in this game. And it was pointed out early in the broadcast that OU throws screens 26% of the time. That's the 5th highest rate in the FBS. But, hey, it's generally working. Dylan Gabriel is on pace to set an all-time completion percentage at OU, breaking Baker Mayfield's record. And he went 14 for 19 on this day. But, again, the pass game let down OU a number of times in this game. Kenny Logan is a run stuffer for KU. Got to see the KU defense play on this day, and even though they gave up some yards and points, of course, because this was a barn burner, some of these guys are impressive, and Kenny Logan is one of those guys as a run stuffer from that safety position. Also, Kobe Bryant, got to be the most competitive guy on the team. That's what they said during the broadcast, and it looked like it when he plays in coverage. Well, he did commit a PI on a key 3rd down, but OU goes for it, just like KU did on a 4th and 3. OU on a 4th and 3, and it was Austin Booker racking up Dylan Gabriel on the sack. OU came into the game at 8 for 10 on 4th downs, but they would not convert this one against Austin Booker, and KU, basically, this was a coverage sack. Great job by the guys downfield. All right. We also had Kansas up front doing a nice job. Devin Neal had a good day. Also, Daniel Highshaw with the press inside. Then he bounced it to the outside. We saw this time and time again out of Kansas running backs, both Highshaw and Neal. He bounces it out to the outside for the touchdown to make it 14-0 Kansas at this point. The Jayhawks led in yards in the first quarter, 121-45. Oklahoma coming back down the field, and on this touchdown drive for the Sooners to get on the board, there was a missed tackle for loss for Kansas that really would have put OU behind the sticks. KU had 19 missed tackles last week, got to clean that up. And also to boot, a personal foul against Craig Young to tack on another 15 for the Sooners. Keep in mind, a lot of psychology working in this series as Oklahoma moves on to the SEC, having won 18 consecutive games in this series, having outscored Kansas an average of 44-15 per game over those 18 games, and the yardage advantage for OU, 528 to 285 per game. Controversial play at the time. Oklahoma fumbled, but they called it dead. They replayed it on the Fox broadcast, and OU fumbled just a split second before the whistle. Should have been a fumble inside the KU 10-yard line on the very next play. Dylan Gabriel made KU pay. It was 14-7 on the touchdown right there. Mason Fairchild with a big drop for KU on a 3rd and 5, and this was a key portion of the game in which it looked like things may get away from the Jayhawks after leading 14-0. They gave up a 21-3 spurt from the Sooners on a late throw to Fairchild. Again, a 3rd and 5. The series does not continue as he drops the football. Devin Phillips out for KU, knocked out in the second quarter. One of their top defensive linemen. KU lost 2 defensive linemen in the first half against that OU running game. 7:50 left in the second quarter. And there was lightning and a long delay, so the game was suspended at that point. We'll pick it back up with OU having taken advantage of a muffed kickoff to convert for a touchdown to lead 21-14. KU on offense late in the first half. Jason Bean, mighty fortunate a number of times in this game, as he could have been picked off a number of times. This was the deflected pass that fell into the hands of Quentin Skinner. That play had to be reviewed. It was reviewed and confirmed for a catch for 24 yards. And then on the very next play, Devin Neal bounces to the outside. OU should have tackled him when they had their hands on him between the tackles. He bounces to the outside for 18 yards. Devin Neal, 25 carries for 112 yards. And then Jason Bean missed a wide open Cardell in the back of the end zone. The fullback leaked out, and bam, he was wide open. Bean missed him. Wasn't even close. Had to kick the field goal, 21-17 at that point. So we go to the break with OU with a 4-point lead. Dylan Gabriel only threw 7 passes in the first half for 5 completions and 38 yards at that point. And then Danny Stutzman. We talked about key injuries and guys that had to leave the game on the KU side. On the OU side, Danny Stutzman had his ankle taped, and that was a key loss for Oklahoma in the first half. All right, J.B. Brown laying down a big, huge hit on Jalil Farouk that caused a fumble at the OU 40. Very next play, Jason Bean pulls it. Everybody's going left. The back, the line, slants, everything to the left takes the defense that way. And Jason Bean, that boy can run, and he scampers for the touchdown to make it 26-21. Did not like the Lance Leipold call to go for the 2-point conversion up 5. Way too early in the game. Goes for the 2-point conversion. They don't get it. It's 26-21. KU is chasing points. Next series, KU gets the ball, and the Oklahoma defense has been ball hawking this season. Kendall Dolby with the deflection gets into the passing lane. He made the play as he dove for the pass breakup, stripped the receiver. Billy Bowman with the interception. Oklahoma now with 13 interceptions. They would get another one, a key one. 13 picks, so make it 14, as they are number 2 in all of college football in interceptions. This one inside the KU 15. Well, that made it easy for the Oklahoma offense. And Dylan Gabriel, he muscles in for the touchdown. He runs through Logan and Miller, scores to make it 33-32 at this point. We're at the 5-minute mark. And though Kansas, despite giving up the touchdown and the lead, gets a key pass breakup in the back of the end zone, and that would prove to be decisive, as KU was down by 1 at this point, 33-32. All right, just about 5 minutes left in the game. Kenai Walker timed up a pass breakup. That was a huge play to set up a 4th and 4. However, the Jayhawks did convert, as wide receiver Luke Grimm. They lined up 3 wide receivers to the right side. They had 2 clear. They had Grimm run the out underneath, and they basically ran a pick play of sorts, but basically cleared out the Oklahoma secondary. Grimm ran underneath to the sideline for the conversion on the 4th and 4. Key Lawrence dropped a pick that hit him right between the numbers. Well, bam, he just sized up the football and just dropped it. So you figure Oklahoma blew it right there. Kansas close to field goal range at that point. But no, the very next play, Ethan Downs played the screen pass perfectly. The rest of the Oklahoma rushers were in on Jason Bean. Downs saw the play set up, stayed back, picked it off. OU with a football with a 1-point lead and just about 4 minutes left. Key sequence right here. Kansas gets a stop on Oklahoma, forces a 3rd and 13, and then a 4th and 7 after an Oklahoma run to Tyree Walker at the Kansas 35. Oklahoma, okay, you're up by 1 point. You've got the football at the opponent's 35, 4th and 7. Do you try to keep the ball? Even if you don't get it, you leave the foot. You've got a chance to make the first down and almost ice the game and maybe get some more points if needed. Or you punt. Well, we never got the chance to see what would happen because Oklahoma went for it on a 4th and 7. But in what you rarely see, wide receiver Nick Anderson with a false start. The wide receiver with a false start on 4th and 7 caused Oklahoma to go back to a 4th and 12. Of course, they were going to punt at that point, and they kick it into the end zone. All right, Kansas with the football now at their own 20. With 2:06 remaining, there's a bust in coverage. Fairchild, the tight end, gets loose, runs right out of bounds after he catches the ball. There's 2 minutes left in the game. Could have gotten a lot more yardage, 10 or 15 more yards, but runs the ball out of bounds. Not aware of the time, I guess. Needed to get yardage at that point, you would have thought. 4th and 6, Oklahoma could have got off the field and won the football game here. But a wide open Lawrence Arnold, as Walker was way too far off of him, giving him way too much cushion, too much yardage, too much play. Arnold gets the conversion and a huge play as on the very next play, Devin Neal scores the touchdown. Looked rather easy. Wonder why. Well, there's 55 seconds left in the game, and Kansas has control of the clock. Oklahoma let Devin Neal score. They had to. They basically, Kansas down by 1 point, could have kicked the game-winning field goal or scored on the final play. So Key Lawrence waved it off, said, boys, let them score. Of course, that was sent in from the sideline. So 38-33 as Kansas gets stuffed on the 2-point conversion. This sets it up for the final series. Oklahoma sets up at their own 25 with 49 seconds left. First play, they get a holding call against the right guard, McCade Matower. Now they got a 1st and 20 to deal with, and it wasn't so much at this point the yardage issue because they overcame the 1st and 20 with a 19-yarder down the seam to Drake Stoops. And then they called a timeout, but they wasted some time. Should have called it immediately. And the seconds at this point were precious. Brennan Thompson catches the bomb that Dylan Gabriel hung up on the right sideline down to the KU 27 that gave Oklahoma a shot. They get the big 39-yard pass completion with 21 seconds left. However, 3 shots to the end zone. Oklahoma comes up empty. Got to credit the Kansas pass rush first and foremost because especially on the final play, Dylan Gabriel just had to hang it up in the end zone with little hope and a prayer at that point. Kansas survives Oklahoma 38-33. The Jayhawks defeat the Sooners for the first time in 19 tries. They also win against a top 10 team for the first time since 1997. Think about those good Kansas teams, 2007 in particular, did not defeat a top 10 team. Got to go all the way back to 1997. All right, this really muddies up the Big 12 race. We'll have to really delve into it this week because obviously there are still games yet to be played on this Saturday. But Kansas right now at 6-2 overall. They go to Iowa State next week, and the Cyclones have moved themselves into position at 3-1. Likewise, Oklahoma, with their first loss, they're 4-1 in the conference, 7-1 overall. They play Bedlam on the road in Stillwater next week. The Cowboys have played themselves into the race at 3-1. Tons of 3-1, 4-1 teams with one loss. Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas. Kansas actually has 2 losses because they lost the 2 games in conference, but they're still in play now, and this should be fun. We assumed Texas, Oklahoma. Not so fast, my friend, as somebody once said. Thank you, Lee Corso. Oklahoma goes down in Lawrence to the Jayhawks 38-33. The game of the day thus far, but college football never disappoints. Thank you so much for being here at the Voice of College Football. Leave those comments and questions down below, and we will see you soon. Ers.